Don't have any leftover primos after Arlecchino's release? No worries, you don't need Chlorine. We have Dori, and today I'm going to teach you how to build her and show off some of her C6 shenanigans like the true gremlin she is. So, starting off with artifacts, you have two main route paths to build her. If you're any other constellation besides C6, you're mainly structured to build her as a support, but if you manage to suffer all the way to C6, you have an amazing on-field driver. With this in mind, C0 through C5 Doris, your best artifact set is going to be Noblesse Oblige. Since you'll be in a supportive role, you'll give your team a huge attack boost upon using your burst. Since our main goal is to have our burst up every rotation, having an energy recharge sands can be very important if you can't meet the requirement through substats. And building a lot of HP to make sure your team is very healthy is also great. Now moving on to the C6 Dori havers. With this, we get to play her as an on-field driver in Furina teams, allowing us to play in Aggravate and Hyperbloom. So building her with Gilded Dreams is awesome for the EM boost. My personal favorite is the 4-piece Thundering Fury set, which allows you to have awesome cooldown reduction that ties well with her Ascension 1 skill, and allows you to spam skills on demand, proccing your C6 passive for the Electro Infusion. Building Dori like this allows us to build triple EM, and all of her healing will be focused on her C6 passive. Doing this will allow big Hyperbloom damage and big Aggravate damage. In these sort of compositions, I still build my Dori very DPS heavy, with an EM, Electro damage, and a crit mask, because I feel like the C6 is more than enough healing to keep up with Furina's drain. Moving on to her weapons. Pre-C6, Dori is limited to that supportive role, which means Favonius and Sacrificial Greatsword are great options. These weapons provide a great energy recharge boost to her, which allows her to keep her burst up full time. It is understandable if everyone does not have high refinements on these weapons, so the Inazuma and Sumeru craftables are great options if you have the billets. At C6, Dori gets two different build paths for her weapons. If she's going for a full Hyperbloom team, it's better to focus on the EM boost and focus on weapons that give you an EM stat. However, in Aggravate teams, these EM weapons can work well, but you can also consider using a damage percent weapon, similar to Serpent Spine or any other 5-star stat stick. Moving on to her teams, Support Dori mainly just wants to be there for her burst and to heal the team, so using her in Hyperbloom teams, Eula/Superconduct teams, and anywhere where she just needs to be a general healer is a great slot for her. Now for her fun teams. At C6, she gets a lot of great teams for sure. She gets a great on-field playstyle that allows her to be paired with Furina in compositions where she can keep up with her HP drain. This allows her to be played in great Hyperbloom and Aggravate compositions and use her as the main driver on field. These teams are a lot of fun for a character that definitely has felt underwhelming for the past few years. So if you have C6, I would definitely recommend leveling her up and trying these teams out if you have Furina. Really quickly, let's take a look at her kit and her Ascension passives. Her normal attack is a 3-hitting combo where the second hit hits twice. Before C6, it's not worth leveling up into her normal attack unless you really want to. Dori's elemental skill wields a cannon that shoots out multiple projectiles that home in on the enemies. Without constellations, this can seem lackluster and is really on the weaker side. Some beginner constellations like C1 and some of her Ascension passives like A1 and A4 allow this can get a little better. At C6, however, this is how she can activate her Electro Infusion to gain massive healing on her normal attacks. You want to be frequently using her skill to make sure you have your uptime on your Electro Infusion to keep up with Furina drain. Now for her burst. This is the main way you'll be focusing on using Dori in supportive roles. Dori will throw on a genie which connects to the active character. The genie will provide the active character with 3 buffs. The genie will continuously regenerate energy for the active character, heal them, and will affect them with Electro. The tether that the genie spawns to the active character actually applies Electro, and can trigger Electro cores and hit multiple enemies at a time. Moving on to her Ascension passive. Her Ascension 1 gives her cooldown reduction whenever the affected character of Genie triggers an Electro-related reaction. This is a great Ascension passive to have, especially at C6, because the cooldown reduction is great. Dori is probably one of the main characters that actually uses cooldown reduction effectively in her kit. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Chongyun. Dori may not admit it, but she's a big fan of the Raiden Shogun, and her Ascension 4 passive allows her to give back energy depending on how much energy recharge she possesses. This refund mechanic works on her skill. Whenever the main projectile or the ones that home off hit opponents, Dori will restore 5 elemental energy for every 100% energy recharge she possesses. This works amazing for her C6 on-field driver teams, where she's mainly spamming her skill through the cooldown reduction and even the 4-piece Thundering Fury set. Lastly, for the most suited utility passive in the entire game. Dori has a 25% chance to scan the alchemy table and somehow refund you Mora and resources from this dark witchery. Now let's move on to her constellations. If it wasn't obvious already, Dori gains a massive boost from her C6, but her other constellations aren't to sneeze at, so let's take a look. Her C1 provides one more projectile from her cannon. These are the ones that home into enemies once you fire. This provides extra damage and a little bit of extra electro application through her skill. Dori's C2 works on her burst. When Genie is connected to a character and heals that active character, the Genie itself will fire out an additional projectile to that character's position. This is scaled off of 50% of Dori's attack, and all this provides is a little extra damage and more electro application through her burst. C4 changes how Genie interacts with the active character. If the active character HP is lower than 50%, they gain an incoming healing bonus by 50%. And when the active character's energy is less than 50%, they actually gain a 30% energy recharge boost. This all happens when connected to Genie. Lastly, and the main reason I'm making this video, is C6 Dori. C6 Dori will activate an Electro Infusion after using her skill for 3 seconds. When normal attacks hit opponents, all party members are healed for an equivalent of 4% of Dori's max HP. This constellation is a massive boost to Dori and allows her to be used in many other teams as an on-field healer. Thank you for watching this guide. This is my first video on this channel, and I hope to be making more content very soon. I'm very new to all this content creation, so any tips would help out a lot. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and checking me out on Twitch. I try streaming on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and sometimes on the weekend. I have my Discord linked in the description as well if you want to be notified on schedule updates and other shenanigans. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye for now.